welcome everybody. My name's Adam Sato. I manage one of the sales teams here with Autoleap. Really proud to be sponsoring today's webinar and excited to be connecting with you all. Obviously, I know you're not here to hear from me, Cecil, John, or the main event, but was asked to talk a little bit about the webinar and Autoleap here. So as a reminder, this is part 2 of the webinar series on parts markup and setting appropriate margins. For those of you who are wondering what happened to part 1, that actually happened a little bit ago during a recent virtual trade show and conference that was done. After this session, there will be materials sent out, and a recording of that will be also available here. So was asked to speak a little bit about Autoleap, give a high-level overview of what we do and how we help our customers out. And for those of you who are not familiar with Autoleap, we are a true all-in-one shop management system. We really take the belief that having one platform that can help all areas of the business is better than trying to cobble together a number of disparate systems. Integrated data, integrated platforms are the way of the future, and that's where we believe. So everything from scheduling and estimating and invoicing, parts ordering, marketing and customer retention, in digital vehicle inspections, all in one platform, right? So I was asked to share a little bit about some of the successes of our customers, and 2 came up in my mind. One, certainly Spin Tirecraft up in Canada. They've been a customer with us for a few years now. I believe they're about 4 bays, and started with Autoleap when they're about $1 million in annual revenue in their journey. And over the last 2 years, they've seen that grow up through $1.4 to $1.8 million in revenue over the last couple of years. A lot of key factors going in there. It's not just Autoleap. They do great work. They take care of their customers. That's first and foremost, right? But being able to leverage video, photos when sending out estimates helps to build trust, build conversion rates from estimates to invoice. And we're excited to be collaborating with them on the next version of our digital vehicle inspections to take them up to $2+ million over the next couple of years. The other thing, revenue is great, dollars and cents, always, the goal of a business, but also what does that mean for the people in the business? Another story that always I love to tell, Ahmed in Washington, D.C. Was on a legacy platform before using Autoleap, an on-premise system. And after the first year of using Autoleap, a true cloud-based system, he took his first vacation. He took his first family vacation in over 10 years and was able to leave the shop for a long weekend and enjoy time with his family. And stories like that are just as impactful of hearing, 1 million, 2 million, those benchmarks hit. So wanted to share those and greatly appreciative to our customers for sharing those. But also want to transition here. I know Cecil and John are the main event and want to thank them for taking time today. And I'm excited to hear from them. So John Heller from Parts Tech, Cecil Bullard from the Institute. Love hearing what they have to say, and thank you for taking the time, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Dua. Cecil, good to have you back again today. We'll just get things kicked off here. As you can see on your slide, I just want to give you a brief overview again as to why we're here, why Cecil has been brought into the discussion, particularly around parts markup. So first and foremost, Parts Tech is a platform that allows you to search and order from all of your suppliers in one lookup. Truly transformational for shops that are struggling with going to different sources, different screens, different phone calls to try to find the parts that they need in order to get the repair orders out to customers and vehicles moving. We are completely free to get started. Literally no credit card required. You get real-time pricing and availability all in one screen, as you can see here. And shops using us routinely say that at a minimum, they're saving 15 minutes per repair order using Parts Tech. So as we've built up our customer base, we've looked for various ways to engage our customers and actually hear back from them. As Adam mentioned, some of the customers that Autoleap routinely hears from. We sent out a report for the first time, our first annual report last year, and we followed that up again this year with a survey out to many of our customers. We had over 750 shops, as you can see here, reply back to various aspects of the survey and the questions that we asked. In particular, we found, as you can see here on this screen, that many shops are saying, they're at kind of this 30, let's say, to 50%, 60% um, gross profit on parts. What we're finding then is that around 63% of shops are actually leaving a lot of money on the table by not utilizing best practices when it comes to parts markup. And so, moving on to the next slide here, we went out and looked for some subject matter experts. And the first one, obviously, that came to mind here is Cecil, we really appreciate taking some time out of his schedule to join us here. And Cecil, this really famous quote here from you to just sort of back up what we've seen in those survey results, that many shops are leaving 40 to 70,000 per year on the table due to insufficient part markup practices. So we started this conversation in part one here a few weeks ago at the Autoleap Amplify session. We heard such a great feedback about it, and there was a lot of information that we didn't get to, Cecil. So thank you for taking some time to come back and do a part two here with us. So I'll turn it over to Cecil Bullard, founder and chairman of the board at the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence. And Cecil, let's pick back up where we were discussing around best practices on parts markup. Thank you for joining us.
All right. So we're going to be working with a workbook, and there are going to be some different spreadsheets as we go. And so if you want to get those, there will be 3 or 4 opportunities to use the QR code and get online and get that material. I believe we'll also be sending out a copy of this, or there'll be a place where a copy of this that's been being recorded will be put online. And I like questions, and I think that it's important that we get our questions answered. So John will be monitoring the questions for us, and he'll be very happy to jump in with a question for me when we get to what we get to. Now, I don't want to recreate the whole, presentation that we had, part one, but I'm going to kind of go through it just really, really fast, just to get those that weren't there caught up and maybe refresh. When we say that the average shop is probably losing somewhere between 40 and 70,000, I think that's probably a conservative number. And the reason I would say that is that, my clients are probably somewhere right around average, about 55% gross profit on their parts. And it's because of the things that we're doing here. Our goal is 58, but I would say that the average in the industry is probably somewhere around 42. And so if you're losing 15% on your parts because you're not using the techniques that we would teach, and you're a shop that's going to sell 200,000 in parts, it's 30 grand. I mean, it just adds up so fast. And if you're a shop that's going to do 1.1 million and about half your sales are parts and you're losing 15%, that can be 82,000 or more. And so, we walk into shops every day and we look at things like parts margin, and the average shop that we see is probably somewhere between about 38% and 42%. And so I just wanted to, kind of make that statement. And I think the other part of this is that we often, as automotive business owners, even our service advisors and our techs, we feel for the client. We feel like, oh my gosh, it's expensive to fix cars, and there's some nerves around this for us. And we also, I think, sometimes believe that the parts are too high anyway. Just like if I had to buy them from my own car, oh my gosh, it would be so expensive. And I think one of the key things is to determine what you believe a fair profit is. And That doesn't mean that every shop in the United States or Canada is going to, put a parts matrix in place and try to get a fair profit. There's always going to be somebody that is going to be competing against you that they don't understand. They're going to have lower parts prices, but the average customer doesn't come to the average shop based on that shop being the cheapest shop. If it did, 90% of my clients would be out of business, and yet they're not. The shops that are actually following parts matrices and charging correctly are busier and more consistently busier, in my experience. And I've been doing this for, I don't know, 25 years now as a coach and a consultant. I've been in the industry for 43, as a shop owner and as a tech and a manager and a service advisor. So, you know, so number one, just decide what a fair profit is. And maybe you go, well, Cecil, 58% isn't going to get, well, that's not, I don't see that as a fair profit. I want ours to be 52. But understand something. If you set your target at 52, you will end up being at 48. If you set your target at 58, you will end up being somewhere in about 55 in general for 90% of you. So, and then it's so easy to fix because parts is very, very simple. I buy parts, I mark them up, I sell them. And so all I have to do really is put a matrix in place. And we're going to kind of pull up the matrix. We didn't spend a lot of time in there. We're not going to spend a lot of time this time, but we didn't spend much at all last time. So we're going to get to that point. Get rid of the emotional discounting. You go to Walmart and the price is the price. And yeah, they have some discount stuff on the shelf, but then they also have some things that are more expensive. And it's the price. You can't take it up to the counter and negotiate the price, because they don't do that, because they got rid of the emotional part of this. Walmart understands how much profit they need. And by the way, they're 2% or 3% on billions of dollars worth of sales is different than our 52% or 55% or 58% on thousands of dollars worth of sales. And if we don't get a higher margin, then we don't stay in business. And then the other thing is somebody in the business needs to manage it. And so you want to quality control your work orders and your parts margin. You want to look at your parts margin, monthly at least, and make whatever adjustments. And then I want to know, if we're not hitting our margin, who's giving away my parts or discounting them. So I'm going to quality control my work orders and look at how we're pricing things out. And if we're not following your matrix, then I'm probably not going to be very, very happy with my staff. I want to talk. Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
Before you move into the difference here, as you laid out that introduction about why you should be putting a parts markup in, we had a question just pop in here, and it's really sort of the $1,000,000 question, the elephant in the room, whatever you want to call it. The question is, are you seeing or hearing anyone raise their eyebrows on the idea of parts markup given the uncertainty in the economy right now?
Who cares? I'm sorry. This whole thing makes me a little insane. Yes, there's some people raising their eyebrows. They're the same people that raise their eyebrows before the economy and the uncertainty. They're the same people who constantly raise their eyebrows. About 1% of our population is cheap. Can't be said any other way. They just they'll drive 10 miles to save 2 cents on a gallon of gas. They go to the grocery store, they look at all the milk. They don't buy the milk in the blue container, which is what my wife buys, so that's what I buy. They buy the milk in the purple container this week, and next week they'll buy the milk in the blue container, or the week after they'll buy in the red container because it's 3 cents cheaper than the milk in the other containers. 1% of our population is there, maybe 1.5%. And so they're cheap. And by the way, is this the customer I want in my business? The cheap person. And no, I don't want them in my shop. That's not who I want to do business with, because all they're going to do is fix whatever little thing they got. They're going to bug me. It's going to take more time. I'm not going to make any money. And so if I work with those people, and I work a lot with those people, I'm going to go broke. There's another 12 to 15% of the population that's cheap by nature, meaning I don't make enough money. I've got to buy the cheaper steak if I'm going to have steak at all in my house, etc. And so if you said, okay, we have 12% of the people that don't make enough money, they're in a lower economic background, and so they're cheap. And by the way, the 12%, excuse me, they'd love to buy the better steak. They want to buy the better steak, but they have to be careful about their budget. And those people are shopping around a bit, and they're not bad people. And someday, when they get a better job, when they make more money, they will leave us, if we're the cheap place, and go to some place that's more expensive, because the perception is that when I pay more, I get more. Sorry, it's just the way it is. So now we're talking about, of the population, let's say that that's higher than I said, and maybe it's 15%. And then we got the 1% cheap. Let's say that's two. We're at 17% of the population that price becomes their primary focus. All right. Well, what are the other 83% doing? The other 83% are looking at convenience. They're looking at service. They're looking at added value things that make them feel good. They want a relationship. They want to know that quality parts are being put on their vehicle, and they want a great warranty, and blah, 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 blah. And so you can get nervous and go, oh my God, there's tariffs, or there might be tariffs, or maybe we can't get parts, in a month or 2 months. And you can totally screw up your business, or you can go, we've been through this before. I'm going to keep doing the right stuff. I'm going to do it the way that I know how to do it, and I know is going to be profitable and make my business money. And you're going to ride this thing out. We have to stop. We just have to go, look, to fix a car, it costs this. Could you imagine, going in, I don't know, one of the high-end steakhouses in your neighborhood, and they got you're going to get a bottle of wine, and you say, well, wait a minute, I can go down to Discount Alcohol R Us, and I can get that same bottle of wine for $35 cheaper. So can you give it to me for $35 cheaper? We don't do that, right? And the reason we do it in the automotive industry is because we allow it. And we have these people in our industry, God bless them. They're nervous. They're worried. They're not making money. Oh my God, if I don't get this job, I can't pay the bills. So I got to keep the price down, because that's the only thing that sets me apart is the price. Well, start talking about the other stuff. For heaven's sakes, take some sales training classes, build a unique selling proposition, understand there's 83% or more of the population that is looking for something besides the cheapest price. And in fact, many of those people on the higher end, the top 50%, they wouldn't even buy the cheapest priced item, even if they had it right in front of them, because they don't think that cheap is good. So I don't know if that answered it. And man, you can see that but let's stop. Let's say, look, this is what I need to be successful in my business. Let me understand my business as a financial model, and I'm going to use this parts matrix. And then once I put the parts matrix in place, if I have more than 5% of my clients that go, oh my God, you've gotten so expensive, I can't come to you anymore, blah, 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 then let's go in and go, okay, let's bring it down a little. Now, I've been doing this part for 24, 25 years. I have told thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of shop owners to go home and raise their price. I'm doing a gig with the diesel guys last week, and I'm up speaking, and I said, has anybody been to one of these things before last year? And a couple guys raised their hand, and I point a guy out. I said, okay, what was your labor rate when you came? He said, my labor rate was $100. I said, okay, what is it today, a year later? He said, $240. I said, wow. How many people did you lose? He said, well, I don't know. I don't think I lost very many. And if I did lose somebody, I lost one of the bottom 5%. I'm trying to get rid of the 5% anyway, because they don't pay me. They don't help me make money. And one of the things we talk about parts is simple. Put a matrix in place, follow the matrix. We got a great matrix. It'll work for almost everybody. You make some minor adjustments on it quarterly, and you're in great shape. Okay. But this guy raised his labor rate by $140, more than double where he was, and did not lose customers. Not enough to make a dent. Okay. And yet there are so many of us that we're just paranoid. If I give the guy a cheaper a price, I can get the job. You know what happens? 72 or 73% of the time, the statistical data says they pick the middle price. They don't even go to the cheap price, right? They go to the middle price. So if you really want to be the guy that gets the most statistical clicks and jobs, be the guy in the middle. Figure out how to be the guy in the middle. I haven't figured that out, nor do I want to be. I want to be the guy at the top. So, and tariffs are going to come and go, and COVID came and went, and before that it was housing crisis, and before that it was Enron, and before that it was something else, right? And we're going to see this. Even more reason to run your business well and maintain your margin, right? Even more reason to do that. All right. Now,
Thank you.
hopefully, I want to go ahead and ask me questions. It's great, but I want to get through slide set at least kind of, and I'm going to go quickly. Markup is the multiplier you use. Margin is the difference between what you paid for the part and what you sold it for. Got to understand that. Why do things go wrong in a business? Because you don't understand the model. Why do you work your butt off, 65, 70 hours a week, and at the end of the month, there's no money? Because you don't understand the business model. If you don't give the vehicle enough gas or enough air at the right time with the right spark at the right time, then the car doesn't run, or it doesn't run very well. Business is no different. Understand the model. What you have here is the model of my sales. If I have 3 techs and I'm $120 an hour, I need to be doing about 1.24 million, not with 4 techs, not with 5 techs, but with 3 techs, because productivity and what the techs do matter to my overall profit. And that means that 18% of what I'm going to spend is going to be parts expense. I'm going to pay whoever I buy my parts from 18% of that 1.24, which will give me a parts margin of 58%, give or take 1%, because it also depends on how much of your business is parts and how much is labor. In a diesel, I may have more parts, and in a restoration, I may have less parts. So then my labor for my technicians loaded, meaning with FICA and FUTA and workers' comp and uniforms and paid days off, PTO, whatever benefits I have or costs I have, is going to be 20% of that 1.24 million. And that's going to give me about a 64% loaded labor cost, which means that I'm going to have a cost of goods of 38% and a gross profit of 62. This is what I'm trying to accomplish, because this makes the machine run well. And if there are going to be some tough times, wouldn't it be nice if I had a couple $100,000 sitting in the bank to make it through the tough times? Well, if you never make the profit, or if you make inconsistent profit, you never have that money in the bank. Okay. And then there's sales expense. I'm going to spend, I have a sales team or a salesperson or a service advisor, whatever we want to call that. I have marketing expense. I need to let people know I'm here. I want the people that I define to know I'm here and what I can do for them. I want to attract the best, etc. And then I have the rest of the expenses, which are my fixed expenses. And if I am an owner working in the business, I get paid like someone that works in the business. So my income comes with the fixed expenses. So I'm in that pile. And then I make a net profit of somewhere between 20 and 24%. We have some people that are actually at 30. That's their choice to do that. They've built their model to accomplish that. But the industry's at just a little over 4%. Okay, so I want to go through this again just kind of quickly. Why are they at 4%? I mean, if this is the model and if you do this right, then, that just drives me nuts, guys. Look at that. Wait a sec. Just 1 second. I don't know why that's doing what it's doing, but it's making me crazy. So we're going to fix it right there. Um, so here's why it goes bad. Uh, I get nervous. I think, oh my God, people are nervous about tariffs. They don't want to spend money on parts. I get news for you. Get rid of the tariffs, get rid of taxes, get rid of whatever. They still aren't going to want to spend money on parts. They only want to spend the money they have to spend. So, so I don't use a matrix. I don't charge enough because it's emotional for me. It's not business. It's emotional. And so, um, I spend 26%, which drops my margin down to 42%. So my spending costs go up and my margins come down. And then because in part because I'm not pricing properly, in part because I'm not managing my workflow, then my labor costs go up also and my margins come down, which gives me a cost of goods of 51% and a gross profit of 49. I've already lost 13% of my profit because of mainly pricing and productivity issues within the business. And about half is going to come from 40 to 50% of the money I lost came from my parts. And then 40 to 60% is going to 50 to 60% is going to come from my labor. And then my sales expense goes up because I got to bring more cars in because I'm not making enough gross profit per hour. And so now I need to hire another salesperson to handle the cars because it's about getting more cars through instead of about maximizing the engine and making the engine run the best. If I put another motor in it, and now we can have two engines, then maybe it'd go fast enough. And then I'm going to get rid of my marketing expense because I can't afford it. Oh my gosh, let's cut marketing because that's not a smart idea. And then my fixed expenses go up because every time I hire another person, I bring more people on. I need another computer. I need more equipment. I need another parking spot, etc., which gives me a 3% net profit. And so I'm saying, do you want to be nervous about tariffs? You can be a little nervous about tariffs, but who cares? And no matter what, I have to make a living and I have to make my shop run correctly. And are there enough people out there that will buy my product at the price? And I have to tell you, I've probably worked with 3,000 shops over the last 20 years. Currently, we're with about 300 shops work with us. And the guys that are charging the most are the most consistently busy. Obviously, they're the most profitable because they're running their business as a well-oiled machine. And the guys that are, cutting their price and bringing in the wrong customers and arguing over, $10 on a part, those are the guys that are struggling the most and not making any money and working the hardest. And so you want to work smart or do you want to work hard? This is a parts matrix. Not any parts matrix is going to necessarily work, but this is where we start with our clients. The idea that I'm going to bring a part in and it's going to cost me $2 and I'm going to charge it times 4, multiply it times 4, which means I'm going to sell it for 8. In this case, that would be $10 because it's cost me $250 times 4, which gives me a 75% margin. And I have to have a 75% margin because I won't bring a motor in that costs $8,000 and mark it up. And so something that I might bring in that's $8,000, I might only mark up, by 1.85 and make a 45% profit. And if I'm going to make a 58% profit overall, then my average part needs to be right in this cost range right here. And I need to have my markup be appropriate for that. So this is one that we use for jobber, or this would be any of the parts, most of the parts suppliers. And then we have one for a dealer. And you'll notice that the jobber matrix kind of falls off slower over time. In the dealer matrix, we start at the same point, but we get smaller faster. Okay. And so, what we're doing here is we're saying, I've got to charge a certain amount on a part, whether I buy it from a dealer or whether I buy it from a jobber, in order to put money in the bank. Because what am I here for? Right? Am I here to work on a lot of cars, stay late, not see my family, and hope that maybe there's a couple of bucks at the end of the year left over? Or am I here to make a living, a defined living, and take care of my family? You know, what's it about? So that's that's a parts matrix, and we have a calculator that we would use. And I have that. Excuse me. We're going to do this real quick, hopefully. And come on, Cecil, is it there? So here's a calculator that's kind of got that almost that same matrix in it. This one's a little softer on top, a little harsher on the bottom. And so I could say, oh, wow, I bought that part for $4, and it'll tell me that I need to sell it for 14. Oh, hey, I bought that part for $65.40, and I'm going to sell that part for $163.50. Hey, I bought that part for, I don't know, $842, and I'm going to sell that part for $1557.70. And then I'm going to have my margin, and hopefully the average part that I sell is somewhere right around here. And that gets me a 60% or a 58% margin. I gotta, and by the way, this is a matrix that if you do the QR code, you can get a hold of this. So I got to tell a story. I'm teaching this class the other day, and I'm get this back up where I want it. And so I'm teaching this class the other day, and I've got these. I've got two different clients that have shops in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area, and they're 16 miles apart approximately. And one of the clients tells me that, you know, you got to be really careful up in Minneapolis because people are very nervous about parts and parts profits and et cetera. And so you can't do 58% up here. You can only do 52. And okay, all right, whatever you believe is the truth, right? And so he does 52. That's his goal. And they end up at about 48%, 49%, 47%, depending on the month and the, you know, how many engines they're doing or big jobs they're doing. I got another client 16 miles away who runs a business. He'll net $1.5 million this year out of two shops. That one that's got 8 bays and they're gonna do 6.5 million or so, and another shop that's got 6 or 7 bays. It's a newer shop that's gonna do a little over 3 million, and he'll net $1.5 million net out of those two shops. And you know, he's not emotional about the pricing, and he believes that you can get 62, 63%. So he sets his margins at 62%, made adjustments to his matrix, and he gets 62% all day long. He flew in last weekend, and he and I spent part of the day on Sunday talking and part of the day on Monday talking about his business. And you know, he's just not emotional. It is what it is. And some people are going to leave you and go, I'm going to go somewhere where it's cheaper. I hope so, because those are the very same people that I'm going to work my butt off on, and I'm not going to make any profit. And that's not why I started a business. And can you charge more for dealer parts than the dealership does? Yes. You know, stop setting your parts pricing based on what everybody else charges. Set your parts pricing based on what you need to charge to make the money that you need to make so that your business runs correctly. That's what every other business in the world does. That's what every big company does. That's what Carl's Jr. does. Hardee's. That's what McDonald's does. That's what everyone does, except for the automotive industry, because, oh my God, you know, somebody questioned me about parts pricing on the phone. I don't even know that person. Stop talking about parts on the phone and what the cost is, and start talking about all the things you do for them and why it's a great reason for them to bring their car to your shop. Yeah. Okay.
So Along those
gonna,
lines,
yeah.
Cecil, you addressed kind of the dealer question there that I think we get oftentimes. There was one in the chat here around specifically automotive performance and customs. And the comment is when I also need to sell competitively online where MAP pricing is the highest. Any thoughts there from you?
I'm so I may have aspects of my business that are very online competitive. So I'm going to get this particular fuel system for this custom vehicle or this particular brake system, and my customer knows I'm getting it online, and if I mark it up too high, they don't feel good about it. Okay, fine. If you're running a specialty type business, custom type business, you're going to do things a little bit differently, but you have to make up the margin somewhere else. So you're going to make that up with your labor. You're going to make that up with charges in other areas that make up the $80,000 that I'm going to lose because I'm using these custom components and custom pricing. You're not going to go home with $80,000 less because then why do all that, right? And so back to last year, I'm teaching a thing, guy with a custom business, and they're selling a lot of parts online themselves. And I'm like, okay, we're looking at our parts and we're making like 3% on our online parts, and we can't even pay the bills. So we're going to make an adjustment. We raised the price on the online parts. We're currently making 8% on the online parts. The goal is to get to 12. And we're doing as much business as we were when we were making 3%. There's this idea that if I lower the price, then they're going to love me and they're not going to fight me, and I'll get more work and I'll make it up on volume. Well, if you're losing $2 on every job you're doing, how many more jobs do you want, right? And if you should be making, I don't know, $200 and you're making 50, then you have to do 4 times the work. And you have 4 times the liability, which nobody in this industry understands what their real liability is, but it's coming. I got news for you, and we're starting to see it. And if I do 4 times the work, then I have to have more people to do paperwork, and there's more test drives, and there's more chance of denting another car, and blah 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 blah. So, yeah, I've got guys that we work with that are specialty restoration. I've got a guy that builds aluminum tanks for big tanker trucks as a client, and we have helped them improve in many, many ways. And sometimes it's like, okay, well, we have this one thing where we can't, or we don't believe we can really get where we need to be. Okay, where else do we make it up? Because at the end of the day, I want 20% net. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm working my tail off, is to be there. You only have 2 things that you sell in the automotive business. You buy parts from parts vendors, et cetera, the dealer, online, wherever you're buying them, and you mark them up and you resell them. You buy labor from your technicians and you mark it up and you resell it. And parts is the simplest thing. Put a matrix in place and manage your matrix. That's it. And if you do that, you're going to improve your margin. What if I only, Cecil, you're telling me I should be 58. I'm really at 42. Okay, what if you got to 52 and you improve your parts margin 10%? And you still give away some stuff, and you still, argued a little online about the parts pricing or whatever with a client. But you got another 10% on $400,000 in parts. It's 40 grand. It adds up so fast, and it's not difficult. Understand your business. How do we calculate margins? Margins are calculated by taking the difference between what I bought it for and what I paid for it, and then dividing it by what I sold it for. So if I bought a part for $350 and I sold it for $11.50, I made a profit of $8. If I take 8 and divide it by 11.5, it tells me I made a 70% margin. Labor, if I bought my labor from my technician for $42.50 all in, and I sold it for $105, my effective labor rate, then I made a $61 and 50% profit. I can't tell you how many times. I think I've even fixed this in our last meeting. And that would give me a 59% margin on labor. Now, if my labor margin is supposed to be 64%, then I'm in trouble here because I lost 5%, and whatever I do with labor, I'm going to lose 5%. Then my labor's, I don't know, 500,000. I lose 5%, it's 25,000 on that. So that's parts and labor. I think one of the things that really kind of shows this exceptionally well is the what I call my my business calculator, which I kind of built. So I'm gonna walk you through this, and I'm gonna again kind of do it quickly. I have an owner that wants to make $140,000 in a salary, wants to make $300,000 in net, would like to work a 4-day week. So we hire a service manager to, and we pay the service manager fairly well in order to hold margins and manage and you know, kind of run the business when I'm not around or even when I am around. And we have other fixed expenses, the rent, the utilities, the, you know, the debt, the banking costs, etc. And we have a 42% gross profit margin currently between parts and labor. We have, let's put, we're going to put 8 cars in there per day. We have an effective labor rate of $108 and a posted labor rate of 140, I think, here, because we're not managing our effective labor rate. And even if you have a posted, whatever your posted labor rate is, that's not necessarily the number that you have. Most companies have something less, and you need to understand your effective labor rate because this is the reality. Once I do discounts and warranties and free digital vehicle inspections, but I pay my techs time to do that, then my labor rate gets eroded. They have an average repair rate of $480. They have 4 technicians with 72% productivity. In order for me to get what I want out of this company, I need to do 2.2 million in sales. With my current car count, I need 10.1 more cars. With my current tech count, I need 3 more techs in order to do the work. And no matter what I do, I'm going to lose $138,000, almost $139,000 because of lost productivity, hours that I pay for my techs, but I don't get those hours, so I can't bill them to my clients. Just lost money, magic money. My highest paid tech is $33 an hour. There's a 30% load assumed, meaning FICA, FUTA, workers' comp. So he really cost me $42.90. And with his productivity, instead of paying $42.90, I'm actually paying $59.58 for every hour that he or she does that I can bill to my customers. If I want to hold margin and my tech were 100% productive, then my effective labor rate needs to be 107. Looks like I'm there, but I'm still going to lose this 138,000, which will make me crazy. But under the current productivity, I need to be charging $149 an hour. And so the calculator, which you can also get through the QR code, lets me play around. So I'm going to listen to Cecil. I'm going to put a matrix in place. I'm going to move my parts margin up. I'm going to move my labor margin up because I'm going to work on my effective labor rate. I'm going to work on my regular labor rate. I'm going to work on my canned jobs a little. I'm going to work on my productivity, and I'm going to bring this thing up to, say, 56%. Now, remember, I want 64, but we're going to bring it up to 56%. When I bring it up to 56%, I don't have to do 2.2 million. I can do 1.7. I don't need 10 more cars. I only need 5.6, and I don't need 3 more technicians. I only need 1.2. Well, that's not quite getting the job done. So let's work on our effective labor rate. Let's bring that up to 132 because we have a 140 posted rate primarily. And if I bring that rate up to 132, I only need a third of a tech. Still need 5.6 cars. Well, what if we did a little better inspection and we worked on our sales and we were able to close one more thing on every other car? So one job on every other car that came in, and we raised our average repair order up to 650. If I could raise my average repair order up to 650, I only need 2 more cars. What if I'm still going to lose this 139,000. I don't really like that. What if I got my productivity above 100%? And yes, it's possible. I have many shops doing it right now. In my shop, over the 6.5 years I ran, the last one that I ran personally, we were at 119%. If I get my productivity up, I don't even need 4 techs. I can get rid of that one guy that's the grumpy guy in the back that nobody wants to talk to, that makes everyone's life miserable. I can take his 70,000 a year, pay it to my other technicians, and because they're more than 100% productive, I got another 32,000, so I can give them each a $10,000 raise based on doing what I want them to do. I still have to do 1.678. You know what? I'd like to increase my margin a little more. I don't really want to do 1.678. I'm going to do 1.6 million with 3 technicians, and I'm going to make what I want to make. There's going to be an extra 24,000 I can pay my technicians, and now I have a business that's going to run and get me what I want. And I could even have a lower effective labor rate and still get what I want out of this company, which gives me some options. Also, if my cost of bringing a new customer in were $69, at the old numbers, whatever it was, I needed 10 more clients, which meant that every day I was going to spend $690 to bring in those 10 clients every day, which is insanity, because then it raises my fixed expenses, and it means that now I've got to do 3 million, 3.2 million, whatever that is. So I want to understand my business financially, and I want to build the model that gets me what I want. And so, what's my parts pricing? That's part of my margin. If I lose 10%, then now I'm at 48. And if I'm at 48, I have to do almost 2 million. I need 4 more cars at 63,000 a year in additional marketing, and I need another third of a technician. If I don't sell enough and my average repair order comes back, then I'm going to need 9 more cars. That's going to cost me $153,000, and I still need those technicians, right? So that's a calculator that helps me understand what's really going on, and helps me, build the model that I want to do. And that also helps me not be emotional about what goes on. And don't get me wrong, when COVID started, a lot of the shops that we work with, many of them for the first month were almost completely dead. But by the second month, they were actually hitting record numbers. My shops that we worked with during COVID hit record numbers for 2 years. And I still have shops that are hitting new record numbers now, 4 years later, because they're doing the right things and they understand their business. They understand their business model. Okay. Now let's look at this, because I'm going to run a different model, Cecil, than you, because I'm nervous about tariffs, or I'm nervous about pricing, or I'm nervous about, there's all these online parts guys, and my customers can get their parts cheaper, etc. And so I'm going to run a different model where I don't have my margin. And if you could, Michael, if you could hone in on this for me a little bit while I talk about this. So I've got a sales volume of 65,000 with a 60% gross profit margin, and that's going to give me $39,000 to pay my bills. My average repair order is $500, so that's 130 cars. I'm going to not hold the line on my parts, because I've got some clients that are, or potential clients that are arguing with me about they'd like to bring their own parts in, or they can get them cheaper somewhere else or whatever. And what's the answer when someone says I can get the parts cheaper somewhere else? What's the answer? Well, of course you can. When they're making your sandwich at Subway next time, and they're putting the meat on your sandwich, say to them, "Hey, I can get that meat cheaper somewhere else," right? Well, of course you can. You can buy it at the grocery store yourself, and you can cook it yourself. And I don't know. Next time you go in and and I don't know, you got the roofer out, and he's gonna re-roof your house or whatever, and just tell him, hey, I can get those shingles cheaper if I buy them online. Well, of course you can, but you're not going to do that because they're not going to let you do that, because then they lose part of their profit. So in this business, this guy's going to get emotional about parts, and he's not going to manage his business properly. He's not going to understand it. And his margins are going to be 10% less. 10%. So now he still does 65,000. He has 8,500, is that 8 or 6? Man, $6,500 that he doesn't have to pay his bills. He has $6,500 less in gross profit. If he has a $500 average repair order, which he probably doesn't at this time, his average repair orders come down also because he's not pricing himself correctly. Well, he needs 20, what does that say? 28 more cars or 26 more cars? Man, that's small print. 26. Um, so I've got to market and bring in 26 more cars, which means I have more liability, which means I need 26 more test drives. I need, I don't know, 85 more phone calls. And I'm actually going to make less money. And I'm going to not have $6,500 to pay my bills. And so you can also look at this in a completely different way. Oops, we did it, didn't we? We went off. And you can say, okay, well, Cecil, I have, I don't know, let's say 32,000 in fixed expenses. That's my fixed expenses every month. And if I do that at a 60% gross profit, then I have to do $53,333 in business to pay my bills. And if I have a $500 average repair order, that's 107 cars. We'll round it up. But I'm not going to hold my margins. So I'm going to bring my margins down by 10% because I'm not going to hold my line on parts, and I'm not going to convince my clients that it's a great thing for them to go ahead and pay me a little more for the parts because of the convenience, because I'm going to handle the warranty, because I'm going to guarantee that their car gets fixed right, etc., as opposed to go down and buy them at somewhere else or whatever. Plus, I'm not going to supply junky parts that I can't make money on. But I decide not to, and so I'm going to kill my margins by 10%. Okay, now I have to do $64,000. It's a $10,000 difference, and my average repair order will have come down because I'm not charging the same as I was at 60% at 50%, and which means that I need another 35 cars. And I'm going to have to market for those 35 cars, and I'm going to have to test drive those 35 cars, and I'm going to have to write up paperwork on those 35 cars, and I'm going to have to warranty those jobs on those 35 cars without the profit that I need. But let's be extreme. Let's look at what's happening in our industry. Probably about 45%. It's probably somewhere between closer to 42, but I'm going to be at 45% gross profit, which means that I got to do $71,000 in business instead of 53. That's $20,000 more dollars in business. My average repair order will have dropped further here because my margins are lower, which means I need another 61 cars to come through my shop. And to me, it's insanity. So we got 5 minutes left here, John. What great questions do you have for me? I'm going to leave this up for a moment and go to the last slide. But what questions do we got, John?
Yeah, I think one that we typically get, Cecil, going back to the business calculator that you had up there, was kind of around the payroll. So there's a question regarding payroll and calculating labor costs. Do you typically consider the taxes, health insurance, etc., to be below the gross profit line, or do you just suggest getting very granular and trying to get these numbers exact?
Most of the shops that we would work with, we would be talking about above the moving costs, labor costs above the line, because then I can see what my gross profit is on labor as well as parts. If you are going to do a loaded, then you want that margin to be somewhere around 64%. If you're going to do unloaded, then you want that margin to be somewhere around 78%. So it would depend on, I want about 20% of my labor rate, of my overall sales to be cost for labor, or 40% of my labor rate, approximately. So it would depend. If you're going to load it, then I'm looking at a 64% margin, 62% margin. If you're going to unload it, you're looking at a 74 to 78% margin on that without the load in it. And getting an accountant to put the load above the line, very, very difficult. So usually for estimation purposes, I'll go in and look, and I'll use a 30% as a load cost. In most states, 30% is going to get you covered for load.
Great. Another question here. What would you recommend, someone not familiar with a parts markup matrix at all? Certainly you've got and provided some links to resources here on
Yeah,
how to
get my matrix, put it in place. There are 10,000 shops in the United States using my matrix or the Institute's matrix or some adapted version of that. And then there are another 40 or 50,000 that are using a matrix that they got somewhere else, which is fine, another coaching company or whatever. And it's, by the way, when you look at them and you put them together, if from most of the coaching companies I know, they're going to be almost exactly the same. And then we probably have 100,000 shops that don't do a matrix because they don't know about it, or they're afraid they're going to be too pricey or whatever, and they don't want to lose the customers they have. It's amazing to me how, there's so many resources. Hell, if you can't find it, it's right there. Go to the QR code and you can download that matrix, and I would just put it in play and measure and monitor and make adjustments. That's what I would suggest.
Outstanding. Any last parting words of wisdom, Cecil? I think, the first question that was raised at the very beginning of the session here with you, just around the economic environment that we're in. I think that's probably top of mind for everyone right now. They're probably getting hammered by people on the phone, stressing, struggling. Any last parting words on how to navigate this going forward, and reiterating some of the points you made up as we close?
First of all, determine the kind of client you want to work with. Do I want to work with the cheap client or the client that's smart, a little smarter, etc.? Second of all, don't worry so much about all of that, because if the parts are more expensive, let's take a look at COVID. Let's talk eggs. Okay, so the price of eggs went up dramatically in the last year. They're starting to come down. They've had their lowest, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Did everybody stop eating eggs? Right? Did you not go to McDonald's and get whatever their breakfast sandwich with an egg in it? Did you not? Or did McDonald's take the egg out because it was too expensive? No, McDonald's raised the price, and you still went to McDonald's and you still got their breakfast sandwich, or you still went out to the, I don't know, whatever breakfast restaurant, and you still got 2 eggs with your meal. And the price was higher and you paid it. Okay. And so what we think in the automotive industry is, oh my God, if the price is too high, then they're not going to buy it. Well, no, that's not true. I'm sorry. As the price of gas has gone up, do people travel less? Maybe a little bit, but primarily the reason people were traveling less was because of COVID. And now they're back to traveling how they used to travel. And the average miles per year is the same, whether the price of gas is $2.70 or $4.20. And people make adjustments. So, stop worrying about it so much and start talking about all the other things that you do for your client that makes their experience the experience that they need and want. And if that's what they want, and that's what it costs. I've had big meetings here with board and some other stuff over this last weekend, and we went out to eat. And I guarantee you that not once did we go to McDonald's or a fast food restaurant. We were all like, hey, we want to go out to eat. Where do you want to eat? Where do they have a great steak? Oh, and by the way, that the cost of that steak right now is probably higher than it was, I don't know, 3 years ago for sure, maybe even 6 months ago. But that's where we went, right? And I think this paranoia that we have, that I don't know if it's our legacy media that's trying to create it or whatever, it's nuts. It will drive you crazy. Do the right things in your business, understand your business financial model, learn it, stick to it, and you will be great. You'll be fine. And I have hundreds and thousands of clients that I can point to that go, they do that, and they've made it through all of those disasters that we've talked about. And whatever disasters come, unless somebody drops nuclear bombs, I just don't see. And if that happens, then grab your family, go somewhere safe, get with your friends, and until then, right?
That's right. Well, thanks, Cecil. That's fantastic. It's been great having these conversations with you, mostly you just loading on the audience here, your wisdom. One last proof point here. You got some props in the comments. Someone imploring the audience, please listen to Cecil. I have, and what an improvement it has made. So, Cecil, thank you again for taking your time to be here and discuss this very important matter. And Dua, I'll turn it back over to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, John and Cecil. It was an incredibly insightful session. I loved how it wasn't just all theory. You gave exact calculations, exact takeaways, and hey, this is what you got to do. So thank you so much, Cecil. That was amazing. For everyone here, I know everyone's at the shop. There's so much going on. So you will be getting an email from Mark at Autoleap. He will be sending out the recording tomorrow. It would have today's session as well as the full part 1. So you guys will get to keep rewatching this, keep picking up all these tidbits that Cecil shared. Thank you again so much, everyone, for attending. And yeah, that's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thank you.